Welcome back, everyone, to Pontosfathom Press. This is episode 28 of the Pontosfathom podcast, and today we are back to the Bleach Manga, and had a couple of episodes already. You guys like those, so we're going to keep going with these. This week, we really want to dig deep into the idea of going back to the episodes 1 and the recent Hell Arc chapter, really to draw out two real points that are very interesting and maybe predictive, not only of what maybe the Hell Arc could be, the future, potentially new future anime Hell Arc for Tite Kubo's upcoming manga reboot, but also some interesting ideas just about how the Bleach universe works. And it resonates a bit with Jung's Aion, talking about the end of an Aion, moving into the new Aion, something like this. So we're really going to jump right into this. I want to just look at some clues around inversion and around illusion. And for those of you that are Bleach fans, those two words really will call out to two key characters in the Bleach universe, namely Aizen and Shinji, of all people. Shinji representing the Visored, and Aizen sort of like one of the great villains of not only of the Bleach manga and of the anime, but of maybe anime in general. So before we jump into this, just quick shout out to Pontosfathom Press, volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Artificial Psychology of Desiring Machines. Impedance, Admittance, and Desiring Machines, out now. You can check this out in the links below. We are working on the proof copies of volume 2, Psychoanalysis of Artificial Intelligence, and volume 3, Computational Complexity and Psychiatric Agency. These will be coming out later this year, so stay tuned for these. Impedance and Admittance and Desiring Machines is a very deep take on the idea of emerging artificial intelligence as desiring machine, and also what it means to look at humanity as it gets closer to being automated. Right, so there's this automation at scale of humanity. We've definitely seen from the pandemic times where people have moved in lockstep and the system sort of at play. So definitely some balance there between a machine that can be independent and a human that is now made machinic, right? So hopefully those are interesting concepts. You want to check those out. We've got some podcasts on these as well and some book reviews. Check out the links below. Do some readings of them if you want to check out somewhere else on the channel. That'd be great and help to support the channel, as do your likes, comments, and ringing the bell, subscribing. All of it helps, and we're trying to grow that channel, and you guys are a huge part of it. So thank you very much for everyone out there who's commented and sent me messages and support. Really appreciate it. So today, let's jump into this concept. As again, we're going to bookend this in two dimensions. We want to talk about illusion, and we want to talk about inversion. And I want to find clues of that within just these two bookends of the saga. So we've got the first Bleach and the last chapter to be recently released of Bleach. Not by no means the last chapter of Bleach, but because there's more potentially to come. But just as we have it at this snapshot in time, and I think it's highly predictive of some Aion-like details. So we'll jump right into it. One thing I wanted to sort of call out just from the beginning of Bleach was this idea of, right out of the gate, we've got the Hell Butterfly, right? Which we also see whenever the Hell Gates open, right? When we see the Hell Gates open, we see those Hell Butterflies as well. So I believe you see the Hell Gate opens, Hell Butterflies. Also, when the Shinigami come through, we see the Hell Butterflies. Also, we have this concept right out of the beginning. So is that an inversion? Is it a hell butterfly? Is this hell, or is it just a phenomenon of the Bleach mechanic whenever one of these portals open, that the hell butterflies? Why are they called hell butterflies? Right? These are all interesting questions. Also, we don't have answers to them necessarily. Maybe Kubo will riff on these things. I want to point out, now this is from the original first chapter of Bleach. And I didn't find this originally. I think Mr. Tomo or DB Zimmerman or one of the other great YouTubers out there, including guys I have always liked watching, like Tekken 101, and even Simo Urahara, like you guys, James, all of you guys out there are great. This is a picture of Shinji. And he's in this film strip. So when we first start out with Bleach, we don't think Shinji, right? We think of Shinji coming way later with the Visored arc, right? So right here in the beginning of Bleach, we've got Shinji, and Shinji is illusion. Shinji is inversion. Shinji's Bankai has to do with inversion. And we also have this inversion throughout the story. For example, the idea that Ichigo can see souls, right? This is a power of Ichigo's that starts out right from the beginning. I can see and talk with ghosts. It's true. He can see the ghosts. He even sees this black butterfly, right? Why is it so familiar, right? So this stuff is all starting to come out. Rukia is from Soul Society. So again, there's another kind of illusion at play here, in which we're saying like the world is not what it seems, right? So when we talk about illusion, right, the idea here is we live in a world. We think it's just, going to school, we're going to work, much like Karakura Town is our world. Karakura Town is our world. And then suddenly, in a moment, all of these illusions can be dispelled, right? And again, we have Aizen, the main villain of the arc, of the saga, let's say, of all of the Bleach saga. Aizen has a role. Aizen's Bankai is the Bankai of illusion. And when Aizen uses his Bankai, one doesn't even know he's under the effects of Bankai. They just think that the world is normal. Is the whole Karakura Town part of an illusion? And what about Soul Society's role in the illusion? What about Hueco Mundo's role in the illusion? What about, we've already had a fake Karakura Town, right? So let's go through this. So we have lots of inferences of inversion and illusion. We also have the idea of the Shinigami's sword. To perform the kanso, they use the butt of the blade, right? So the sword has its fighting part, but then the hilt, which is an inversion of the sword, right? So this is interesting, right? The inverted sword is the kanso. They don't kill them. They place the hilt of the sword upon the hollow, and that's what causes them to pass. Also, this inversion of life and death, like, for example, Ichigo gets stabbed with the sword, and it gives him a new life, right? So we're flipping these concepts of living and dying. Rukia can come down to earth, living and dying, right? So we see all this in the first chapter. The Soul Reaper is not visible to normal humans. Ichigo can see it. He's something else. As we learn later, he's a hybrid of human and Shinigami, right? But if we keep going, this another detail not originally noticed by me, pointed out by our fellow YouTubers out there, but I think it's a great detail. This is the cloak of Urahara. And when we talk about the world is not as it seems, Urahara is the king of the world is not as it seems, right? So here we have again the inversion of Ichigo's normal life is actually the careful product of Aizen. Well, we have two factors. We have Aizen claiming that he's the one who caused Ichigo to rise up. Because you think about it, Urahara gets exiled because of Aizen. All of these factors come into play, even Cayenne, all of these holification that happens, Aizen's behind this. And so he does have that moment in one of those flashback episodes when Ichigo is getting sort of demoralized by Aizen, where Aizen basically intimidates Ichigo. That's like, I'm behind your whole growth. You're my greatest achievement. But in a weird way, even before Ichigo was born, Urahara was involved with this, right? And I believe it's Simo Urahara was just talking about this recently too, that Urahara is the one who understood the Gigai technology that allowed Ichigo's father and his mother to basically live a life among the mortals, right? Because when Rukia is in this world, she's not in her natural state. She's in a Gigai. So now again, an illusionary body, an artificial Gigai, right? These interesting inversions. And if we take this to Jung, right? If we just take this to Jung for a moment, so we've got all kinds of inversions here. Like the world is not as it seems, illusion. Inversions of life and death. The stabbing into Ichigo inverts the idea of being stabbed. He's given new life with the stabbing, right? Sort of like a knight is knighted, right? But if we go into Jung, they're talking here about the dark side of matter. You know, this again, we have Hokyoku in Bleach, but we also have Gigai. Ichigo exists because of Gigai technology, right? His father is basically in a special kind of Gigai that Urahara probably invented, right? So we have here in Jung, it is significant that the Gnostic philosophy found its, again, this is Jung's Aion. It is significant that the Gnostic philosophy found its continuation in alchemy. Mater alchemica is one of the mothers of modern science, and the modern science had given us an unparalleled knowledge of the dark side of matter. It has also penetrated the secrets of physiology and evolution, and made the very roots of life itself an object of investigation. In this way, the human mind has sunk deep in the sublunar world of matter, repeating the Gnostic myth of the Nu, who, beholding his reflection in the depths below, plunged down and was swallowed in the embrace of physis. The climax of this development was marked in the 18th century by the French Revolution. The development briefly outlined here seems to have been anticipated in medieval Gnostic symbolism, just as the Antichrist was in the New Testament. We have seen that the higher atom corresponds to the lower, so the lower atom corresponds to the serpent. For the mentality of the Middle Ages and late antiquity, the first of the double pyramids was called the Anthropos Quaternary, and the second was called the Shadow Quaternary. And these are, I'll show you these pyramids that Jung is talking about. You have to think of them mostly as these quaternios that he calls, right? And then they're sort of like in a tree that goes from Anthropos down to the rotundum. So we have rotundum, lapis, serpens, homo, anthropos. So it's basically like matter, and then at the top is soul, right? The human soul. But then the left and right, we have the Christ energy, which is sort of like the good, and we have the diabolical energy, which is the evil. And Jung says these have to be reconciled. And then you sort of think of, you go down to that, Jung talks later about how the matter, kind of like in a golem, Sorry, golem. I'm saying three things: Dune's Gola, and Tolkien's Gollum. But I'm talking about a golem in the sense of a lump of matter that's given life, right? That's what a Gigai is. A Gigai is very much an inanimate object that is given life, and that life-giving nature of alchemy is kind of some of the alchemical transformations that we're seeing in this illusionary world, in this inverted world. If we jump into the Hellverse again for a moment here, again we start out with this symbol of, again, a rotundum. It's called the rotundum here in Jung. And then the fish chasing each other in the rotundum here. And then we go into a kind of a weird inversion from the opening of Bleach. The opening of Bleach was about the hell butterflies, right? You have the hell butterflies, the air, right? If we go here to chapter 1, our images of, we have the night of Karakura Town, the same moon, but this time the dream is of the fish, right? Last time in the dream was of the butterfly. So alchemically, we're going from air to water here, which is a dissension, right? We're already going down from air to water. And then we have the writing of those fish, which goes sun, opens up the Hellverse, and then we're back up to no breaths from hell, no breathes from hell, no breaths from hell, which is like the hell butterfly. We're in water now. We got some comedy with Ikaku, but quickly we get to the serious business, which is the hell gates open. We've got Renji and Ichigo with hell gates open. We've got hell butterflies coming through, and then right away, some new class of creature. Not hollows, because the hollow is not inside their chest, right? So again, an inversion. Even the hollow mythology inverted, right? And the greatest inversion of all, the notion that the dead aren't dead, right? And this has been a theme that we've talked about. We've got a Saturn podcast, the idea of the Saturnine black cube, right? Even Aion, the Lord of Illusion, we'll call him, is at the bottom of Muon, which is the layer under the Central 46 of like a black abyss, cut totally from at the bottom of the prison world. I think at the bottom of the prison, there's a black dimension that Aizen can just sit there in his chair, like with nothing to interact with. So this is kind of a sort of hell. But you also have Baragon's power, the Arankar Berengar, who's like the god, the king of death. And we wonder what his role is going to be here. But when we see the risen Arankar here, the risen Espada, we really get the concept now that all of our slain are here. So is Unohana here? Is Yamamoto here? Are all of is Ulquiorra here? And suddenly the concept of, oh, wait a minute, hell has all the good spirits and all the bad spirits. All the fallen are kind of in this place. Totally flipping. When we talk about inversion, Kubo's totally flipping the concepts of heaven. We thought heaven was soul society, and we thought that hell was a place where people went to be punished. But now there's a weird inversion there. Are all the gods still in hell, right? This weird take that is going to frame all of the encounters to come, where we're not going to really understand what's going to be the relation between these once enemies that are now in the pit. Well, this goes back to Jung again. And finally in Jung, we're going to talk a bit about the reconciling of the Christian and the diabolical. So, talks about here, in the Anthropos Quaternio, it corresponds to the Gnostic model. Now, just as the Anthropos Quaternio finds its symmetrical complement in the lower atom, so the lower atom is balanced by the shadow Quaternio, constructed after the pattern of the upper one. The symmetrical component of the lower atom is the serpent. So as we go down in these, just as man culminates above in the idea of light and the good of God, so he rests below in a dark and evil principle, traditionally described as the devil or as the serpent that personifies Adam's disobedience. And just as we symmetrized man as the serpent, so the serpent has been complement in the second Nicene Quaternio, or the Paradise Quaternio. Paradise takes us into the world of plants and animals and is in fact a plantation or a garden enlivened by animals. A serpens mercurialis, the snake is not only related to the god of Revelation, Hermes, but as a vegetative numen, called forth as the blessed greenness, all the budding and blossoming of plant life. So here again we have this lapis, where we're having a emphasis on the need to reconcile the higher consciousness with the serpent consciousness. So we've got this Diabolus and the Christos. So now we've got all of our prior all of our prior polarities are being inverted with Kubo's Hellverse, right? We used to think, how did the universe work before? Kubo gave us the Middle Earth, Karakura Town. Then he gave us a heaven, which was the Soul Society. But then we had within the Soul Society, we had another layer, which was the Soul King. Which is that the real heaven? Is the Soul King, the Soul Society, the Soul King's palace, right? It's sort of like an inner sanctum. They just keep kind of concentric circles rising up, sort of like a Minas Tirith or something like that. And also, he gives us a purgatory, which we've talked about before. The purgatory is kind of Hueco Mundo. It's where those lost hollow souls are able to actually work through their karma. And we kind of have this reconciliation post-Aizen of the Arrancar and the Espada. Only like, especially if we look at Can't Fear Your Own World, how some of these characters are now integrated. And also we see there is some teamwork even in the final Blood War arc, where the former Arrancar and Espada are actually helping. I think kind of isn't Urahara basically rescued? I mean, we don't know what happens. We'll have to see when the anime expands on it. So there's a lot of questions there. And then we have that weird Aizen hell. That's kind of like a hell, but that's more like an abyss. So we have lots of heavens and we have lots of hells, and yet here comes this new Hellverse. And I think that some of those clues that we see between these two issues are very interesting. So let's leave it at this. What I would like to do is, going with this theme of, hey, what's going to go on in the Hell arc? And what are some of those scenes that, Kubo's come out recently and mentioned that the anime Thousand Year Blood War will include some new expanded footage on some of these scenes. I'm wondering what clues will be there toward the Hellverse arc. So, as you guys may know, we do this weekly podcast here, but we also have started a Monday Comics and Manga Monday series. And our kickoff was a Bleach kickoff, and we're also doing another Bleach podcast. But I'm thinking we might spin off a separate Bleach series where we go through maybe point by point. Maybe we start all the way back to the beginning. I'd even like to look at the pilot book, right? If you guys are interested in that, leave a comment below. Would love to launch that series. Maybe just take a day a week and we go through one episode in real depth, and we take a look at what it resonates with, whether in esoterica, in Jung. We can look at Steiner, Blavatsky, even Crowley, and other esoteric things. Everything from the alchemical writers to Christian and Buddhist writings, right? We can kind of link a lot of these factors in. So just to wrap up the idea of this inversion and illusion, what I find is very interesting is the Saturnian nature of Aizen imprisoned in his dark void, and how he, in some way, might have a huge role in the reconciling of, because Aizen's kind of at the bottom. I don't feel like hell is at the bottom. What do you guys think? Do you think Aizen is in the lowest of lows in the black void prison? Or is that part of Soul Society? And then what are your predictions for the Hellverse? Because what I'm seeing now is if a Yamamoto and a Unohana are in hell, amongst the Ulquioras and the Barragans and all of these other sort of damned characters, then I'm wondering, what's this second life about? What's the second life where we invert hell? And this is, again, going back to Jung, this is the turning of the Aion. Right? We used to have a world that was just Karakura Town. And then we realized, it's Karakura Town. Then we realized Karakura Town and Soul Society. As we get into that Arrancar arc, now we have fake Karakura Town. We have Hueco Mundo. We have Soul Society. And then as we get into Thousand Year Blood War arc, we even have the Soul King's Palace, which is sort of like a heaven within Soul Society. And then we had Aizen's punishment at the end of the Arrancar arc, where Aizen's punished down to that void. And now finally, I mean, we knew about the Hellverse before. It had made some appearances. But it was kind of fillerish stuff. Now that there may be a Hellverse where our villains and potentially our heroes are still alive, this really adds a new cosmology. I feel like we need Rukia to draw us a new diagram. But finally, going into the, wrapping up here, when we talk about, we just want to wrap up this concept here, this chemical wedding, we can call it the conjunctio oppositorium, is what Jung calls out to, which was the name that alchemists called the chemical wedding. And this is sort of the marriage, in a way, of the anima and the animus, the negative bad spirits and the positive, the Christian and the diabolical. And Jung calls out that this marriage of the two may be the complexio oppositorium that is going to challenge the coming age, right? So the idea here is Kubo is maybe tapping into this concept, maybe it's even unconsciously, where he's always loved inverting, Gigais without souls, but then you can put your soul in a Gigai, it's heaven, but we can go there. It's a hell, but it's got our heroes in it, right? There's lots of inversions going on. And overall, the idea of illusion, how that comes across. We'll talk about the union of opposites quickly and then final words. So first it says the dual being born of the alchemical union of opposites, the rebus or the rebus or the lapis philosophorum or the philosopher's stone, is distinctively marked in the literature. Psychologically, the self is the union of consciousness and unconsciousness. It stands for the psychic totality. Historically, these symbols are authenticated as God images. Nevertheless, the Christian hesiarchs tried to sail round the rocks of the Manichaean dualism, which was such a danger to the early church. The Manichaean dualism, for you guys who don't know, the Manichaean dualism is the idea of Manichaeanism. So, I think most of the world's religions sort of have this concept that the gods are good and the devils are bad, and that when the gods rule, the devils are defeated and all is good. But the Manichaean dualism says the gods and the devils fight, and they fight in the souls of men. And when there's no longer a conflict, the world will just sort of disappear. So this is a very interesting idea, because you have a Manichaean dualism potentially brewing in Kubo's Hellverse. So we'll have to see what kind of comes out of that, right? And I think that lastly, let's just talk about, I want to just shout out this image that I have in my mind here of Aizen fighting Shinji. Remember we had Shinji upside down when he does his Bankai, and Aizen with his illusion Bankai out, right? So we have Shinji's the inversion, Aizen is the illusionist, and they have this battle, and in the end Aizen wins. And I'm wondering, that seems to me very thematic, especially with that appearance of Shinji's face in that opening film strip, right? And then lastly, that black butterfly of the Hellverse and the fish of the abyss, they both seem to be Saturnine concepts. The idea of a black animal, the idea of a winged black animal, like her black wings, to quote the Danzig song, or the idea of the fish in the abyss, right? And Saturn as a kind of abyss, and Aizen being sent to the abyss, where he still can come back and help them after the 1,000-year blood war arc. So I feel like Aizen's role is not finished. I'm wondering if Shinji is going to have a bigger role. Again, Shinji, the first of the kind of sidelined, but Shinji seems to have a huge, important part in the lore, just in the fact that he is the inversion. And when we're talking about inversions of hell, I bet you he'll have a big role too. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Hopefully this was fun. Check out our Comics and Manga Monday podcast that we're going to start doing, and let me know in the comments if you would if you'd like to see us do some more of this Bleach. You guys love the Bleach podcast, so that's why I'm going to spin this off into a separate It's a separate series probably. Okay, thanks for watching. As usual, check out our links, like and subscribe, and talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.